So once you choose the transcript, it's time to start collecting the language. So if you remember when we did this in our research unit, we used strips of paper to collect the language from the text that we were using. So you don't need any fancy paper, so hopefully at home maybe you have some old mail with envelopes that are blank on the back. That's what I did. I took some old envelopes, my scissors, and I cut them up. So I already pre-cut my paper, so we don't have to sit here and watch me cut paper, but I have a bunch of little strips, kind of, a nice long, narrow size to encourage the, not putting down whole sentences, but really capturing those phrases that will work well in lines of poetry. And collecting that language that's interesting, that's resonant to you. So what I'm going to do is I already wrote down my chosen words on the paper, because I don't want this to take too long, but we're going to go ahead and listen to the person here read her testimony. Elizabeth Kaufman Koenig read her testimony. And you can see the transcript here. And on the camera, you're going to be able to see the language that I chose to include on my strips of paper.
One day, however,
as she reads.
Magda Truckmay told me that they intended to have children come from the camp de Gurs, and that when they are in Le Chambon, they would want me to go there into the same house to help with the children, because the children would not know French a lot. A lot of the children would not know French, and they wanted me to help with the children. Would I do that? And I said, of course. And then also, one thing happened that it was very strange. They did not treat me like a refugee child. They treated me more like a French youngster, right? They did not realize so much my background, I don't think. Until one day I received a letter from my grandfather saying that they were going to go to Cuba. And I was terribly upset. I thought that I would never see my grandparents again. And I cried very much. And then they realized that I had the similar background to the children that they were helping. And I think they were very glad I could be a bridge between the people of the village and the people and the children.
So there are my pieces of paper. As you can see from that little transcript, I have, easily 10 to 15 strips of paper. Remember, your poem needs to be 7 to 14 lines. I even have a few more. I missed those cues when they were coming in. And there might be a few other things listening to it again that I would want to add in. So remember now, once I have my papers, I'm going to start laying them out and arranging them. And if you don't get enough papers from one transcript, remember you could use another one. So maybe I could go back and do a search this time for La Charbonne and see if there's another testimony from that particular village, because there were a lot of rescuers in that village. In fact, the whole village chose to hide and rescue Jews during World War II. It's quite a remarkable story. And so I could use another transcripts. Remember, you can use 2 if you need to. So now I can start putting these in some sort of order the children would not know. And think, how can I create my poem? So I'm not going to have you watch me do my whole poem, because it might take a while. I might want to move things around and stop and think and maybe go get a drink of water and let some inspiration seep in, right? It's not something that happens instantaneously. But one of the things I often like to do is lay them all out and think, well, what do I have here? And I like to maybe think, where do I want the poem to begin and end? And then that can kind of maybe give me an emotional mark. Oh, I see this is all sideways here. I should have done it that way. That's okay. Whoops, now it's upside down. Okay, still learning my technology here. But I think you get the idea and hopefully remember. So I'm going to lay them out so I can see them all. And I'm going to think, what line would I want to start? Could hook my reader into the emotional content of the poem. And where do I want to leave them at the end of the poem? I'm actually really thinking I want to leave off with that question. Although I could be a bridge. Maybe we could start there. And would I do that? I like leaving that, even though it's a first person question. Whoops, there it is on the bottom. Even though it's a first person question, I like this idea of leaving off, would I do that at the end of the poem? And maybe starting, could be a bridge. It's a first person question, but leaving a poem at the end of the question automatically, I think, makes the reader ask that question too. So I'm going to sit with this and try to figure out the middle of the poem. You should do the same. And then we'll come back and I will talk about putting the poem together in the Google slide and finding a picture.